ducked off low key, yeah, you know me. Kickin' with Tyree, hit it three like Kyrie.
Um, for people who may not know who Pat McCurdy is, how would you describe not just who he is, but what he represents?
I think the best way to describe him is a bringer of joy, and that's what the documentary is really all about. Is that there's this ongoing theme of people that go to see him, and they go to see him to be happy. Something that's said repeatedly throughout the film is that you can't leave one of his shows without a smile on his face. His music is kind of genre defying. That's another theme where people sort of try to put their finger on what it is he does. And some people say he's a folk singer, and a lot of people would say, no, he's not that. Some people say he's a musical comedian. He's not really that either. He's a singer, he's a songwriter, he's a troubadour, but more than anything, he's a bringer of joy.
That's beautiful. Why do you think it was the right time to tell this story right now?
I think it was the right time just because it hadn't been told yet, as much as anything. He's this legend with this 50-year career. So there was partially, what are we waiting for?
Mm,
Now that Pat, I don't know if he wouldn't want me to say his age, but so part of it was that, and I think part of it also is we like to say the world needs Pat now more than ever, because there is a lot of turmoil and there's a lot of, unrest. Um, in the world right now. I think that everybody's aware of it. And I think one, Pat just makes people happy and he's this bringer of joy, but he also brings people together. And
mm,
that's why people, the average Pat fan has seen him 50, 100, 200 times. And the reason they keep going back, aside from his music, is that feeling of community. So, to feel connected to other people in these, I don't know if dark times is the way to say it, but
mhm.
I think we need him now more than ever. And especially if you look at films, you look at so many documentaries. Don't get me wrong, there's stories that need to be told, but a lot of them just revolve around a lot of sadness. And so, we want to make people happy, and that's what Pat does.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of, especially in the festival realm, a lot of documentaries are focused on trauma a lot of the time and not actually
Yeah.
bringing like joy to the situation. So I definitely feel like that's a different outlet to make a documentary from, because a lot of the times it's always focusing on the negative or rather than the positive. For you, he's been doing this for 50 years. What do you think allowed him to sustain that longevity in doing it, especially on his own terms?
Yeah, I think functionally he would say what allowed him to do it for so long is just his motivation and his drive to work and to travel to different cities. So he would say one of his big paths to success was that he didn't just stick to one city, and he would drive from Chicago all the way up to the Twin Cities, and in his early years go all around the country. So I think that is part of it. I think also his shows are ever evolving. So he writes a new song almost every week, still to this day. He thinks he has over 1,500 songs that he's written.
Uh,
So I think the fact that his show is constantly changing, right? It's not people don't show up and they're expecting to hear the same three hits. It's always topical. He writes things that are relevant to the time, which is why the show changes and he cycles a lot of songs. But I think that the fact that he's always kept it fresh and relevant has sustained his career, and it's why you don't quite know what you're gonna get when you go see him, but you don't quite know what you're gonna get.
yeah, it keeps it unexpected and fresh. How did you go about capturing the relationship between Pat and his fans? Like, what was
Uh,
the process for that?
Yeah, so we started our first day of shooting. We filmed at his house, and it was him and his family and his crew and his and some super fans that we got to meet initially, and then we just went on the road with him. So we went to shows and we got to meet fans, everything from people that were seeing him for the first time to people that have literally seen him 500 times. So it was really interesting to get that variance and experience the people that have been with him since some of them the 80s and 90s, even before he was doing his solo show. But yeah, it was really just being on the road and every city he goes to, it's a different group of people that have a different relationship with him. Um, but no matter how long you've been seeing him or where you've been seeing him, there is always that common thread, that connection of we come to forget about our troubles, to be a part of this community and and be happy and be joyful.
What was something that surprised you while making this documentary?
Um, One of the things that really surprised me is so there was kind of this feeling going into it that his fan base is really older because his fan base is kind of aged along with him. And so, me, I'm almost 50 and I started seeing Pat in the late 90s in Madison and I expected to be one of his younger fans. And sometimes I am, but I was surprised that his fan base really runs the gamut and you'll find 21 and 22-year-olds at his shows and you'll find, I mean, we've got if you know his music, his iconic song "Sex and Beer," like we've got footage of people in their 90s up on stage doing the sex and beer dance. But I think what surprised me is that I didn't know if he had really been able to capture a younger audience and stay relevant in those terms, which is really hard to do. Just that generation, their relationship with live music is so different. But he has that, and I think a lot of that maybe comes from his sons because he has two sons and they're young in their early 20s. But he still, I mean, he resonates with fans over a huge age gamut. And I didn't know that. I didn't know he had really been able to build that relationship with a younger fan base.
Oh, I wouldn't, or people wouldn't say he's a household name, but his impact, especially on live shows, is undeniable. Um, what does his story say about success and how you can make your own success within your creativity?
What's funny is I think he has a complicated relationship with that. And when we started pitching him on the idea of the documentary, I don't know if he saw his story as a true success story. And he almost had to be convinced of that idea. But I think you hit it on the head, right? Like he has made a living at this for 50 years. He's had fans that have stuck with him for a really long time. So would you rather be that, or would you rather have had a number one hit 30 years ago and done nothing since? So I think he's the definition of success, and to say otherwise would just make no sense because you said it right. He did it his way, and he's managed to play his music and have people come and see him over such a long span of time, over 10,000 shows. I mean, to give you an idea, I think a band that a lot of people think of as being this big touring band nowadays that people see a lot is the band Fish, right? Seems like
Mm.
they're touring all the time. And, I know people that love Fish and go and see them multiple times a year. It's estimated Fish has played about 1,500 live shows, and Pat has played over 10,000. So the fact that people are still showing up, venues still want to book him. And he did make his living, right? He wasn't working as a barista or he wasn't doing anything on the side. He hustled and he grinded. And and then there's so many little things like a lot of people don't know. He wrote jingles for greeting cards that were sold in Target. He wrote a song for the Green Bay Packers that was played on the Jumbotron at Lambeau Field for years. He wrote the theme song for the Wisconsin State Fair. So there are these kind of bigger moments as well. But really, his bread and butter is just being in a bar, close with his fans, him and his guitar.
That's beautiful. I did not know he wrote the Wisconsin State Fair jingle or theme song. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's very new to me. Um, what would you hope that younger artists and creatives take away from Pat's journey?
I think the biggest thing would be that if you work hard and you grind, you can and will succeed. And, Pat going all the way back to he just taught himself how to play the guitar. I mean, he taught himself how to play the instrument. And when you think about I think it's common in the younger generation, and I don't want to throw digs at the younger generation, but I think that there is this, I mean, I'm victim to it too now, but like there is this limited attention span and there is this people want overnight success, right? They want to go viral, this and that. But if you put in the time, if you work, if you really just strive to get there, Pat is living proof that you can do it.
That's beautiful. How did you this you said that this film is a symbol of like joy and infectious joy. How did you translate that visually with throughout the story?
It's a really fun interweaving of, the kind of love affair he has with his fans, the music, that's part of what makes his shows so much fun is that they're very interactive. So it's not like another show. It's not, it's not like a concert where you sit there and you applaud at the end of the song. You get to be a part of the show. You get to kind of play along with it. And we really, really wanted to convey that experience so that even though you're sitting in a theater, we wanted you to end the film feeling like you had just been to one of his shows. And even more than that, finish the film thinking to yourself, I need to go to one of his shows. I want to be a part of
Mhm.
this experience. But it's infectious, right? It is right there in the title. Like you can't go into this world and not be affected by it and not be moved by it. One of the funniest things is, our post-production guy was really looking for kind of these moments of tension and, oh, like, can we have some dark turns where things went bad a little bit? And you don't really have that. And I get it. That's kind of the arc of a film that you have to have these highs and lows. But we just sort of said, no, like we just want it to start high and just keep getting higher and higher and higher and higher and crescendo into, just this eruption of joy.
Um, Milwaukee is sort of like a character in this story. How does the city shape Pat's identity and the culture around his performances?
I think it's everything. I actually wonder if he could have existed in a place that wasn't like Milwaukee and wasn't like Wisconsin. And much like Pat McCurdy, Wisconsin is one of those if you know things. And we talked to fans about this because I think people that live outside of Wisconsin and live outside the Midwest um, have this idea, right? Like always around elections, like we're these purple states, these swing states. And I think people view these states as like a lot of people that are angry at each other that are fighting all the time. But if you spend time in Wisconsin, like it is the most loving, welcoming place. It doesn't feel
Mhm.
divided at all. I was just telling someone yesterday that because I don't live in Wisconsin anymore, but something comes over me the second if I'm driving up from Chicago, like the second I cross the state line, it's like everything just changes on almost on a cellular level. And um, that's so Wisconsin. And it is just this loving and welcoming place. And I don't know if I don't know if another culture really could have embraced him. I just think about, a state like New York or California or some state in the South. I don't know. There's something about Wisconsin similar to Pat that like there is this joy and happiness about the people of Wisconsin that I think really and the Midwest that kind of carried that. My wife always says, because we live in Colorado, um, something along the lines of in Colorado, people seem nice. In the Midwest, people are nice.
Mhm.
And I think that's so true about the Midwest that it's such a genuine place, uh, and I think that feeds right into the culture he's built.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. Wisconsin's one of those places you could be in a room with people with different political beliefs, different everything, but everyone is having a good time. Like everyone's at that bar having a good time. Everyone's at this place having a good time, not thinking about anything else, but just
No, I think people are
it,
focused on the similarities, not their differences in Wisconsin.
yeah, and that's the beauty of Wisconsin as well. And while there is some faults, but there's a lot of beauty in the culture around Wisconsin, especially in the summertime or at the festivals and things like that. Being on a lake, that's the beauty of Wisconsin that people don't see, and I love to
Yeah,
see
and
you
he
try to bring it
embodies
out.
that, he slips his philosophy into his songs and like he'll poke fun at religion, but he's got fans that are super religious and they still find the fun and the joy in what he's doing and can laugh about it and have a good time.
After spending so much time with this story, what do you personally carry that you learned from Pat on philosophy of life or art? What do you carry from him now?
Um, I mean, one of the things is I just love his music speaks to me so much, and the things he says and the topics. So that just genuinely speaks to me. And even with all the travel and all the shows we went to, I never got tired of it. From him as a human being, I think it goes back to kind of that lesson of, follow your dreams, don't be deterred. He has this thing that he says over and over again. It's even in one of his new songs that we feature in the documentary. I forged ahead when a smarter man would quit. And if there's one great lesson to take away from the film and that I got from him, forge ahead, right? Push on. If you believe in something and you want something, go for it. And he managed to do it, like we said, on his terms, right? And through it all, like he had a family and he worked hard and he's built these amazing relationships with the people he works with and his fans and all over the state. And if you know the name, it's one of those things. If you say his name, you might get a blank stare. But if someone knows, all of a sudden there's that gleam in their eye, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm in. I'm in on this.
I love that, man. And thank you for kicking it with me. That's all I have for you today. I appreciate the time. I hope you you said you're in Scotland, correct? Or
I'm in Scotland right now. Yeah.
I
Uh,
hope you get to enjoy Scotland. I don't know what time it is there, but I appreciate you kicking it with me, and I hope this project gets the love it deserves, you know.
Thank you. Yeah, this was fun. Are we going to see it at the screening next weekend?
It depends on which day it is, but I'm trying to make it to every screening that I did an interview with, and hopefully, yeah, you'll see me there.
Ducked off low key, yeah, you know me. Kickin' with Tyree, hit a three like Kyrie.